Hi everybody. I wanted to make a little video because I can't be right there with you today, and I wanted to go over the Adverbs Review Packet with you before you take the adverbs test, and I'll go over the test a little bit too, as well as going over the Culminating Charlotte's Web project so that I can answer any questions that you might have and kind of talk about what kinds of things I'm looking for. So keep watching and keep listening. Here we go. Hi everybody, I wanted to make a adverbs review packet video for you so that you can check your work before you take the test. So for number 1, we're going to go ahead and write happily. Number 2, sweetly. Number 3, wisely. And number 4, a lot of people have a hard time remembering that on tearful, you have to add the ly at the end. So there should be 2 L's there. All right, so if you have number 1 for B, my dad is a light sleeper. He sleeps. And we're going to take the word light, and we're going to say he sleeps lightly. Number 2, they wrote correct answers. They answered correctly. Number 3, Carla is a bold speaker. She spoke boldly against the law. Circling adverbs that tell us how. Remember, a lot of these have lys at the end. So number 1, brightly. Number 2 doesn't have an ly in there, so you have to think to yourself, how Mac can jump high. How can Mac jump? He can jump high. That dog barks loudly. There's an ly. I erase carefully. We play cards well. How do we play? Well. So there's page 1. Moving on to page 2. On page 2, we're talking about adverbs that tell us when. So for this one, number 1, he rises earlier on Sunday. Do that again. When? Again. Number 3, sometimes Ben sleeps in a tent. When? Sometimes. Linda always writes thank you notes. When? Always. Let's go to a hockey game tonight. When should we go to that hockey game? Tonight. Section E, adverbs that tell us where. I can go nowhere today. Wow, this sounds very familiar. We're going to circle nowhere. The man stood up. Where did he stand? He up. Where is my ball? Where? Where tells where. The fawn laid down by his mother. We can cross off the prepositional phrase by his mother in there to help us. And then where did the fawn lay? Down. Their cousins visit here in June. Prepositional phrase in June. Where do they visit? They visit here. So there is the second page of the review guide. Going on to the third page. All right, adverbs that tell us to what extent. So, Toby's friend is so serious. How serious is he? He's so serious. My uncle drives very slowly. How slowly? Very slowly. The dog is too large for his doghouse. How large? Too large. Her arms are somewhat burned. How burned? To what extent? Somewhat. The teacher gave me a rather strange look. How strange was that look that the teacher gave you? It was rather strange. So to what extent, I often think just like how serious, how slowly, those kinds of things. And then degrees of adverbs. We're comparing right here, English, she speaks English than German. So we're comparing English and German. And if we're doing that, that's only comparing 2 things. So we would say more plainly. He writes with his right hand. Well, we have to think about how many hands does he have. He has a right hand and he writes has a left hand. So we would say better because we're comparing two things. Marie rides her bike of all her friends. So is it just Marie? Or is it Marie and one other person or Marie and more than one other person? It's Marie and all her friends. So we're going to say fastest because that's going to be more than just two people. Her collie barks more often than her neighbor's poodle. So we're comparing the collie and the poodle. And does the word oftener make sense or more often? Let's think about how many syllables. Often. That's 2 syllables. So we're going to say more often. And then number 5. Sean glided most steadily of all the surfers. So we have to think of all the surfers, that's going to mean there's more than 2 people there. So we're going to pick most steadily. All right. I also would like to go over the test with you for a moment. So I have that here. In the first section, we're going to talk about how. In the section, when. Third section, where. To the fourth section, to what extent. And then in the fifth section, we're circling the correct adverb form. So it's really similar to the review sheet, just with fewer examples there. I hope that that is helpful to you, and I know that you're going to do great. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here for a second, and then I'm going to also explain the culminating project for the reading of Charlotte's Web. All right, now that we've gotten a little bit of time to talk about the Adverbs Review Guide, I also want to talk about another assignment that you have for today, the Culminating Project Choices for Charlotte's Web. Now, in your schedule, you have this for today, and you also have this for next week, Monday. So you're going to have to think about, you want to spend about 2 40-minute chunks of time working on this project, because in class, if I were doing this assignment with you, I would give you 2 days and I would probably give you about an hour amount of time to work on these each day, but that also includes a little bit of breaks and probably you being distracted by your neighbors. So let's go over the different choices. You could write about a sequel to Charlotte's Web. So what's going to happen to Wilbur and his friends later on? What's going to happen after the story stops? Number 2, who's the author? You can do some research about the author, E.B. White. You can write a short biography about him. And then it says, be sure to include a works cited page. That just means where are you getting your information from? So what are the different websites that you visited? Number 3, do your diary. Choose a character in the book. Write about the events in the book from his or her point of view in the form of several diary entries. So maybe you would say that you're going to write from the perspective of Fern or the perspective of Charlotte. So you want to think about what are those characters' thoughts and feelings during the story in a few different parts. Number 4, write a newspaper that's themed around the events in the book. You could include articles, advertisements, comic strips, or an advice column. This would be kind of similar to the activity that we did with Dogzilla, where you wrote a certain section about like what happened in that story. And you remember when you were a mouse reporter. So that could be a cool idea. And let's see, number 5, choose your favorite scene from Charlotte's Web. Write it in the form of a play. Record it to show your classmates or perform it in front of the class. That one might be a little bit tricky. But if you have some willing family members that want to help you act it out, that could be kind of fun. Create a board game, which is themed around Charlotte's Web. Be creative. So maybe you could do kind of like a Candyland type game where you have different spots that you land on, and then maybe when you land on a certain color, then you ask a question about the story or something like that. a news interview. You could be a journalist that's interviewing one of the characters from Charlotte's Web. You could write a script for it. And then it says with the partner, either record it to show it to the class or perform it in front of the class. You could definitely record it on an iPad or a phone or something like that. And then you could share that with me. All about spiders, do research about spiders. You could present your findings in a creative way. So you could maybe create a like a Google Slides presentation, or make a little poster, or you could write me a paragraph about spiders. It's your choice. And then number 9, make a movie poster advertising a movie based on Charlotte's Web. So kind of like how books have book covers, movies have movie posters. And so you could think about really making sure that this is a detailed piece of art. And then number 10, character art. Create sculptures, puppets, or models of the characters using any materials you choose. You could use a combination of any kinds of materials that you can think of. I think this would be really cool too. So those are your different choices. Things that you want to be thinking now about is, are you showing me good effort? Can I look at this project and say, wow, they really gave their best effort on this? Creativity. Does this show your creativity in your presentation? Not your parents, but your creativity. And then attention to detail. That might be coloring, the type of questions that you create, the spelling of words, neatness, those kinds of things. And then how did you use your time? Can I look at your project and say, oh yeah, they definitely spent at least 2 40-minute chunks of time there. So I hope this helps. If you are working on your project and you have any questions, I'm going to be available by email for sure tomorrow, as well as Monday. And I hope that you have a fun time creating these. If you have another idea that's maybe not on here that you want to do, you could go ahead and email me about it, and then we can talk about it. So good luck. Have a great day. Bye.